Now I'm talking about the original legendary simulation series called The Sims. When I was a kid growing up, I was always entertained by playing video games, both with consoles and PC. There was a point in time where I would play games on a Microsoft HP compact computer with a mere 500 megabytes of RAM. Yes, you heard me correctly. 500 megabytes of RAM. That's exactly a half a gig of RAM that we use to measure today. Games like Jumpstart, the learning game series for kids based on grade level of education, were my frequent go-tos. As our family upgraded to a better computer, I was able to play more advanced games. I remember one afternoon in the retail store, Target, I wandered off into the PC games aisle. I was captivated by a cover. Yes, a game cover. I judge games based on their application of the law of attraction from a visual perspective. I was such a shallow young kid. But in all seriousness, the original bare-bones Sims stood out to me. The cover resembled that of the famous 70s hit show called The Brady Bunch, which I watched around bedtime on the Nickelodeon channel. But reading the word Sims confused me as far as what the game was about. But I was interested. However, with that level of seriousness, that type of look for a game, I just wasn't used to. Remember, Jumpstart and maybe something like Blue's Clues were the games I played until that point on PC. So being a wise young kid, I decided not to negotiate with my mom for the high-priced ticket Sims game. It was out of my comfort zone, so instead, I settled for a $6 pro wrestling action figure. Damn, was I slick. Talk about the art of the deal right there. But roughly a week later, my mom and 4-year younger brother went out to the store for some errands while I stayed home. My brother came back with a separate bag. And to much of his delight, he came into the computer room with wide eyes and a smile that seemed to have stretched across the entire room. And to my surprise, he pulls out a new PC game. But I'm thinking it's another Blue's Clues or some Barney bullshit. No, it was The Sims. I loaded the disc into the computer and entered the serial number to begin installation. I couldn't believe my brother got a $50 game. And as advanced as The Sims. He's 4 years younger than me. And as the older brother, I was both proud and thrilled. Also, thankful for our kind mother, who allowed it to happen, of course. Playing The Sims, I quickly became hooked. The revolutionary game gave the player an ability to play the role of God in simpler fashion, being able to control, manipulate, and direct the lives of fictional, electronic humans in a simulation that resembled basic reality offered much replay value. I can't tell you how many hours I spent in front of the computer stressing out about my Sims' basic needs like bladder, hunger, sleep, and many more. Building houses at 9 years old, investing countless hours on a mansion that had an interior design like a checkerboard. Square boxes for rooms inside of another giant square layout. Basic as fuck. Also, being able to manipulate and take the free will of the Sims away as you please gave the players many different directions to go in their reign as all-powerful Sims players. To be able to live out sick and twisted fantasies, good or evil. You could help nourish your Sim or Sims to fill their needs and accomplish great things, like reaching the top of a career ladder. Or you could take that ability and use it for evil. Live out whatever fucked up fantasies you got. Let it all out. They're just artificial. You could take advantage of your Sim or Sims and lead them down a path of destruction, despair, and even death. Yes, death was possible. For example, letting your sim swim in a pool and then deleting the stepladder, which was the only way for your sim to escape. Death would be inevitable once your sim runs out of energy to stay above water. Other cruel things like putting your sim in a room and then deleting the door would eventually lead to the sim, authentically, pissing and shitting themselves, again, also in despair, and then finally death of starvation. It's a cruel world in the life of the Sims at times. However, you are in control. They rely on you. You can write the story of your custom-created Sims according to your desires. The Sims also had an autonomous free will that was decently proficient, but you couldn't leave them alone for long. I remember times where I would walk away from the game and live out my own simulation and kept it running while I ate dinner and watched a sporting event. For example, I would come back to an empty household with urns of the ashes of those who were once my living Sims. They were scattered across the house in various rooms, and particularly the corners. I also observed that over half of the objects in the house were replaced by big piles of dust or rubbish. After further investigation, I concluded there was a fire. But I had a fire alarm. And indeed, a firefighter on the game, an NPC, did put out the fire and saved half of the objects. But that was another conclusion to back up my opinion of the free will efficiency. They sucked at surviving. They apparently cornered themselves in various rooms, jumping up and down, screaming out in a Simlish language, in attempts to cry out for help as if I was at the screen, ready to save them from the grasp of a fiery death. Unfortunately for them, I was not. Like I said before, I went out and lived my own simulation. I then had an empty house with apparitions of their ghostly selves roaming the place at night. It was very interesting. But the fun didn't stop there. The game had a series of impactful expansions that added the option to throw house parties, take others on dates downtown, go on vacations, own pets, become famous, and much more. The Sims series is a fascinating break from traditional gaming and was historic for the way they revolutionized the simulation genre. The Sims is a great gaming franchise that is unique in a class of its own. Big shout out and thanks to Willwright, Maxis, and Electronic Arts for bringing us a game that we hold dearly in our memories and maybe even still play today. Now I'm interested to hear about your experience. Even if you disagree, we are not all equally equipped to manage the lives of artificial intelligence. That's a huge responsibility.